right now and what has been going on in the UFC's media day. We're also going to talk about Suge Knight and did he testify, right? Because that's sort of the ongoing mystery of this whole entire story. Did Suge Knight testify? And obviously, for those of you that are squares, you may not understand what that means, but that would be detrimental to his street credibility in some kind of way. Speaking of credibility, obviously, Ian Garry and Islam Makhachev put their whole entire reputation on the line. Makhachev put their whole entire Victory says, so Garry obviously isn't 6'3". What is that in reference to? Was there some sort of face off? Yes, I know there was a face off with Makachev and Ian Garry at the Rocky statue, right? I understand that was going on. Was it indicative of that? Was there a measurement that showed he wasn't? He says he's barely taller than Islam, maybe 2 inches. Or is it maybe that Islam is actually 6 feet tall and not 5'11"? We got to take a look at that into consideration, right? Yeah, he could be 6 feet tall. He says Islam is listed as 5'10", Garry supposedly 6'3". You also have to understand, maybe you got to look at the shoes of Islam Makhachev. Let's take a look at it and see if we can find footage of that, right? Let's go see if there is any shoes on Islam Makhachev, because that would be what you're talking about in terms of the height differential between them. Okay, here we go. The face off right here. Okay, so this is the face off. Okay, so if you look right here, Marty, right? Let's wait until they face towards the right here. Okay. If you look right here, right, there's obvious differences in the shoulders, right? Also, we're not looking at the shoes. We don't know if Islam Makhachev was standing on anything. From the head right here, we could measure right here, the head right here, and then so look, if you watch right here, right, there's no deviation of me moving down or any kind of way. Islam's head would be like right here. So if you see, like, that's still significant. Look right here, this like right under Rocky's trunks is where Ian Garry's head is at, right? If you look at the mouse right here. So if you look, he says Islam is really probably about 5'10" because he is barely taller than Poirier. And how tall is Poirier listed as? Poirier is listed as what, 5'9"? I'm assuming. Is that about right? 5'9", maybe. Yeah, 5'9" is Dustin Poirier. Okay. All right. So let's hear what they're talking about in the media day. Oh, there's Mackenzie Dern on right now.
I mean, you still have titles and you still have, the accolades that the person brings to the fight, and you have been submitted. She's on bar. I think I know some of her fights in jiu-jitsu. She got leg locks, so they're definitely weaknesses or holds that, I haven't been submitted.
The point is the size different isn't much as I thought it would be. Yes, considering the fact that Islam Makhachev is a very big, I mean, he's always been a big 155er, right? But in reality, his body type is very similar to that of GSP. And this is probably why I think Islam Makhachev is going to dominate this division for quite some time, right? And the reason for that is because he has the right body type. Obviously, he has the right skills. very similar skills to that of GSP, right? He can wrestle, he can now kickbox. Even though he has good striking, right? Even though Islam Makhachev has good striking, right? It is not like the striking that is in the fluidity of, let's say, Prince Nassim or somebody like TJ Dillashaw. Or right, obviously, this channel's one of the channel's favorite fighters, right? Being that this channel is the one that taught TJ Dillashaw everything he knows. Come on, I thought you guys knew. On any regard, he doesn't have that kind of striking, right? But it's effective striking. The head kick that he threw at Volkanovski was indicative of that, right? The right hand and the overhand rights that he caught Charles Oliveira with, right, was all indicative of that, right? Very well rounded. On top of the fact that he has superior submission skills more than anybody else, more than Oliveira, who, by the way, statistically has the most submissions in all of UFC's statistical history. But yet, Islam Makhachev proved his worthiness and also his prowess in terms of his submission skills by submitting the most decorated submission artist of all time in the game, in the UFC specifically, obviously, not just the entire game. But if we're talking submissions overall, I'm sure there are other people out there that have had more submissions outside the UFC. But where it counts the most in the UFC, it is Charles Oliveira that had the most submissions, and here we are. Here we are. Uh, Islam Makhachev showing why he is the much more superior fighter in terms of submission, right? So that is something Ian Garry has to deal with. He is going to have the toughest fight of his life, right? Shuffcott was a tough fight in and of itself. Okay, a very tough fight. However, that fight uh, is sort of the preview of what you're going to get out of the Ian Garry versus Islam Makhachev fight. I kid you not. I see a lot of Shavkat Rakhmonov vibes simply because the way that Islam is right now, he reminds me of that. He reminds me of Shavkat Rakhmonov, a guy that can do a little bit of everything, right? So when you're dealing with a guy that can do a little bit of everything, I think you're dealing with a fighter that is going to present many problems for you. Okay, many problems for you in different fronts. Okay, and that was indicative of that fight that he had with Shafkat. Right, he had difficulty in the wrestling, had difficulty, and not also to mention. Right, you got to understand Islam Makhachev. Yes, he has been finished before, but we're talking about right after the improvements that he had made after, right? Now we're talking about Ian Garry, who was undefeated while he was making mistakes, right? Ian Garry has been knocked down before. He was out wrestled by MVP. So, there's going to be some problems in the wrestling department. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be some serious problems in the wrestling department. And if Islam Makhachev wants to guarantee a win on this fight, right, very similar to GSP, right, fought safe in order to fight some of the most dangerous guys at 170. And once again, the George St. Pierre comparison, I would not be surprised if he takes that same approach that he did with JDM, which was very George St. Pierre like, if you can be really honest about that particular performance, right? George St. Pierre like in a way where he took the safe route, had the ground control time, used the ground control time in order to neutralize his opponent. And Islam Makhachev will do no different in this fight because, let's be honest, regardless of the political views, regardless of the lifestyle views, regardless of how we may find Ian Garry reprehensible to any degree, we have to understand that Ian Garry is a formidable fighter, a very dangerous fighter, and there's a great chance that he could absolutely finish Islam Makhachev, if not finish Islam Makhachev, down outright win it in the way that Sean Strickland did against Khamzat in a 5-round decision. Okay, these are all strong possibilities that we cannot forget. All right, we can't forget that these are all strong possibilities and realities that he could face in there. All right, so something to think about. All right, let's continue on with what Mackenzie Dern is talking about here while I make the thumbnails for this.
Mindset. And so then when I lost that and I saw kind of, I understood the game of MMA, and how, okay, grounded pound could be better and, worth more than me putting her in like these omoplatas and, all these chokes where I'm hearing her like, like choking, and I'm like, if this was a jiu-jitsu, this would be like so dangerous for, like, I get all these advantages and all these things like that. So that really helped me understand the game of MMA, and I think that's what helped change my mindset and help me get to the belt. And like in my title fight, I'm like thinking about damage and damage and damage, and not just attacking and wasting energy for no.
Shout out to Ghostbusters, man. Shout out to you.
Mackenzie over here. So obviously you got to participate on Tough a little bit this season, help coach. Is that something you could ever see yourself or want to maybe take a head coaching role on?
Oh yeah, for sure. That was fun. It was really cool to like meet the girls and the guys. And I was lucky because it was the strawweight division, so I was able to get the training in. But I mean, I feel like, not that I feel bad, but it's like it's a lot of pressure on them. They're like, it's Monday, 4 p.m. and they're like killing each other, and then they have to go fight each other like next week and cut weight. So what they put themselves through, I'm like, this is crazy, But to be able to be there and kind of try and, I don't know, be an example for them and just help maybe inspire them a little bit was fun. But definitely, I'd like to get, would be interesting to be part of it and be one of the coaches and see who I would fight at the end or something like that.
And then last one for me, obviously all attention on Jillian, but is there a clear number one contender after her? Do you maybe think Wei Li would be that number one contender if she does come back to strawweight?
I don't know. I have no idea. I thought Wei Li was going to be my first title defense, so I really have no idea who they would offer after. And I don't have my eyes on anyone either. So just yet.
Mackenzie over here. When you won the belt, your daughter was the happiest person in the world. She looked so happy on screen. What did she told you ahead of your first title defense?
She tells me to train a lot because now she understands that if we win, we get another one of these. It's not like we don't pass it on to someone. So she tells me to train a lot, to get a whole bunch of these. She's like, wants to have them all around the house.
Awesome. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Awesome. Over here. There's the old expression that a fighter gets 30% better after they gain that first title. Do you feel that that's happened with you?
Dern is losing this fight, Ghostbuster says. You know what, man? I can see that. I'm gonna explain why. I can see that in a second.
This is so crazy, and it was just, and it's, in my opinion, it's the pressure that comes off of you, and then you can really just go into training and evolve and get better, and you don't have pressure on you anymore. You already accomplished that goal that you wanted, and so now you just get so much better.
For sure. We've talked about the excitement around women's MMA, the current state it's in right now. There hasn't been a woman as a main event in almost 18 months. Do you feel any pressure on putting on an exciting performance this Saturday?
I mean, I always feel a little bit pressure to put on exciting performance, just because I'm always putting that on myself. I want to have a great fight, and I like bonuses, and I like having fight of the night and things like that. So I mean, definitely, like I was saying before, I would like to help if I can help in any way. I mean, I'm not a good trash talker, so I can't go that route. But if I can, get, especially now on Paramount Plus, to get, people who don't do martial arts who are watching and see the fight and say like, man, what is she doing? The goal looks like a pretzel, or a knot or whatever, a knockout, or especially being the champ and being a mother and just, try to represent that the best way possible. So yeah, definitely I have that pressure of trying to get exciting matches for helping women's MMA and UFC in general.
Thank you. Mackenzie over here. Yeah. Even Garry recently said that the world would be a better place if women were in charge.
Oh, here we go. The interesting question right here.
Champion, just kind of your opinion and if you agree with him.
I mean, that's so hard. I come from like a little bit more traditional Like
Win,
women,
Mackenzie Dern. That's
obviously
a
the women in my
W.
family are super
W
strong and
answer.
independent, and they taught me how to be a strong woman. But I don't know. I like the guy protecting and leading and doing that stuff, and I like to just relax. And if I need to go to war with him, I will. But yeah, I mean, I'm a mommy and stuff like that, so I think it's really good, woman, strong woman, and we don't depend on guys. We can be independent, but I like the man taking the lead.
That's a very good answer by Mackenzie Dern. That is a W answer. W answer by Mackenzie Dern. Love it. Love it.
I mean, I kind of, I imagined that, my title fight was a co-main event, so, yeah, I mean, I thought it was gonna be. I mean, I liked when I was fight nights because then the whole poster was like just me and my opponent. But it's cool. I mean, two title fights, fighting with legend, the guy's division like Islam and all the guys. For me, it's awesome.
And also, what was your reaction when you heard that your fight was to be held here in Philadelphia for the first UFC event in this city in over 7 years?
Man, I was super excited, especially just with the whole Rocky story.
All right. So, a little insight on what Mackenzie Dern was talking about there, right? So, for those of you that have lost context in what is going on, obviously Ian Garry has came out on a podcast and mentioned how the world would be a better place if women ran it. Now, they asked her, "What do you think about Ian Garry's comments in this?" Because obviously Ian Garry has caused a firestorm in people sort of reacting to this, right? One way or another, right? Either people who are trad males or people that are progressive males or just other females that have different persuasions or different outlooks of life, right? So now, fast forward to Media Day, which is what we're covering right now as this is being recorded, and we realize that Mackenzie Dern comes from a very trad family to which they stand for none of that. She said in exact words, "You know what? I would be ready to go to war for my man or whatever and this and that, but I like to relax. But I like that a man is the one that is protecting us, obviously coming from a very traditional stance in that." So, W for Mackenzie Dern, obviously being a champion for masculinity and Western ideals of a man having to protect the women, which obviously also has a lot of Islamic derivatives in that as well, right? Something that we can obviously relate to in the Muslim world. Aaron Maga says Ian is a fool. Well, I tell you what, that particular question right there and that segment in Media Day absolutely made him look like a fool, but it absolutely made Mackenzie Dern look like a winner. So there you have it. All right, so that is it for Mackenzie Dern. All right, let's hear what Ian Garry had to say because Ian Garry had already came up. He already had his turn. So let's hear what Ian Garry had to say here. The Ian Garry segment right here. Here we go.
Well, before we start, I just want to make one thing abundantly clear. I've got the biggest fight of my life this weekend. I'm absolutely completely fucking focused on the fight. So let's stick to the professional stuff. Yeah? Stick to the fighting. Let's talk about the fighting.
Let's stick to the fighting. Basically, nothing about his wife.
Being to go off of that, I guess, the first time we saw you at MSG, you were kind of like you had this plan to get the title. You were speaking at as if it was inevitable. So now we're only a few days away from you getting to achieve that dream. Has it hit you? Has it dawned on you? Or do you finally have to treat this as a normal fight week, preparing not only for the title fight, but the number one fighter in the world?
That's a great question. I knew from the moment I started this sport, I knew the talent that I had. And I knew that with all the talent, the discipline, the sacrifice, and the hard work that I knew I would put in, I knew I would get here. And I have gotten here. And I have gotten here. And nobody in the world has deserved a world title shot more than me. It still hasn't hit me yet. I still think it's going to be Friday when it hits me. I'm like, all right, this is it. He's here. There's no more. There's no more to do. There's no more weight cutting. There's no nothing. No media. It's just go up, face off at the ceremonials, and then I know tomorrow I fight him. I think then it will kind of come to reality that it's real. But I've always said I want to fight the toughest fighters in the world, the best fighters in the world, because that's how you become great. You need no question marks, no excuses. I have fought some of the greatest fighters walking this planet right now at welterweight. And it's going to be an honor to go out there and compete against Islam, the number one pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, the two-weight world champion. His legacy is set in stone. I mean, he's done.
Aaron Maga says Ian is a fool. Aaron Maga says underground, everyone is the same height. Let that sink in. Correct. So that is why when Islam Makhachev gets him on the ground, obviously he's going to have a very easy time of doing so. Yeah, I think that that is where Islam Makhachev is going to shine the best, and also potentially get his finish through that, right? Some sort of submission in some kind of way. But Ian Garry has been training with Damian Maia, one of the best submission artists of all time in the UFC, one of the greatest jiu-jitsu players, period, outside of MMA, right? We'll see how much that helps him in the Islam Makhachev fight in the grappling side of things.
So much in this sport, but beating him, it's exactly the challenge I would want to become the champion of the world.
Go off of that. When I feel like no one would have complained if you got a title shot, maybe even a couple fights ago, especially when you weighed in as the backup in Montreal. Obviously, that was Jack Bilal, but now it's Islam. Like, there's just kind of a different aura during a fight week for him. Is this best case scenario? Like getting, like I said, not just fighting for the title, but the guy.
Winning a world title in the UFC is amazing. Doesn't matter who you beat to become the world champion. You're forevermore a UFC world champion. But just like when Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo, who hadn't been beaten 10 years, different. Oh, okay, this is legit. I get this an opportunity to fight the number one pound-for-pound fighter on the planet, a man who is on a record-setting win streak that we haven't seen since the great Anderson Silva. For me to go out there against him, and many consider to be a generational talent, they're starting to talk about him in the GO conversation. For me to go out there and have that as the challenge that I have to go and beat to prove not only I'm the champion of the world, but I really truly am the best on the planet. It's actually what I want.
Is he a guy that you think he'll have to beat twice, considering everything he's done? In the past we've seen guys with these long win streaks, they lose and then they get the immediate rematch just based on their resume. Is Islam a guy you have to beat twice to finally put an end to it?
I think let's focus once, and then we can focus on beating them twice. So that makes sense. But it all depends on the passion. If I go out there and I start them in 2 minutes, do you want to see me fight him again straight away? You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. If we have a back and forth war like he had with Volkanovski, then it probably would warrant a rematch. But
all right, so obviously Ian Garry is making some good points on the potential outcomes of the matchup, right? If he was to starch Islam Makhachev in some kind of way, there would be no need for a rematch. I think that also goes without saying if he was to be on the receiving end of that. Also, he talks about how how confident he is of going in here. Obviously, all fighters need to be confident, but that's not the focal point of the whole entire thing. He started out from the very beginning, and I need you guys to pay attention to this, especially from somebody who understands the corporate side of public relations, right? This is a good move on Ian Garry. You may not like it, obviously, because you have certain political views. You just are not a fan of him. Maybe you're just pro-Islam. Maybe you're against Islam, but you don't like Ian Garry. You don't like any of them, but you like Islam more, right? That's sort of the prevalent current sentiment that is going on with a lot of hardcore MMA fans right now. Nonetheless, very good PR move on Ian Garry to say nothing about personal stuff. He let you know right off the bat, I'm not going to answer to anything, which lets me know two things, right? He's heavily focused into this fight. Not only is he heavily focused into this fight, he is also prepared to block out everything else that is outside of this fight. I need you guys to understand, right? Ian Garry's whole entire team lives in a bubble. They are not in this American English speaking meme world or this MMA internet culture that most of you are a part of, where you make cock memes of Ian Garry, right? Sitting in a chair somewhere while being in a hotel room with his wife with another man type of thing, right? This is not what these people are on, right? In their algorithms of what they consume on media or anything like that. These guys watch Brazilian stuff. Obviously, he's from a team that is mostly Brazilian. So they're not on any of this, right? They are on their own track and trajectory. Now, it may not look like a good look for Ian Garry outside of it, right? Outside of his circle, but inside his circle, everybody is focused on a task, and they don't see Ian Garry as nothing more than a fighter that they are trying to help reach whatever goal that he's at, which right now is obviously to be the number one contender, potentially be the world champion.
Also, there's many other challenges here that are exciting at the same time. So let's get through Saturday night, let's get the win, and then we'll see in what fashion I get the victory and if there's a rematch on the cards. But I wouldn't be against it. I think he's earned enough to do it. But let's get to Saturday night first.
Did you have a bit of your camp in Georgia, or a big chunk of your camp there?
It was the first place I went to when I found out that we were next. It was way early on. I went to Georgia because I wanted to see. The Georgians are so lovely. Ahead of my fight with Bilal, I told them I was going to need the help. When I do, let me know. I got so many messages, so many opportunities to go out there and train.
All right, so basically the Georgians helped him with the Bilal Muhammad fight. All right, so now let's get to this, right? Suge Knight. Suge Knight did not snitch, apparently, right? I thought that he was going to be one of the witnesses, and he had spoken to TMZ and explained himself why he wasn't going to be one of the witnesses and why he was not going to testify against Keefe D in any kind of way. But interesting conversation he has here with TMZ. He did talk about, let's say, who may have done it, or some kind of conspiratorial aspects to his theory. I think where he's leaning towards is government assassination, right? Suge Knight in this interview hints at JFK, which sort of leads into that. Listen to this. Let's skip over the intro of TMZ.
For the murder of Tupac Shakur is underway, and there is something very interesting going on here, because KKD, who is on trial not for shooting and killing.
Look at Keefe D. Look at my man. This is the first time I've really seen him look like a public defender type of lawyer, right? And look, notice how he's got like blue bandanas on his necktie, obviously still supporting the Crip colors. But I don't know, man. I mean, this is also a guy that's now considered a snitch, right? They consider Keefe D a snitch now, considering the fact that he gave up a lot of names, right? But he gave up names of people that have already died. So who is he really snitching on, right? So very controversial stuff, right? As I've told you guys before, I had a homie. Well, not I mean, he was a homie, but let's just put it like that for all intents and purposes. He got caught up in a murder trial because one of his buddies executed his own girlfriend, only for him to hide the gun in the homeboy that we're talking about, his house, and hide his car in his garage, only to be later implicated on that murder charge, and later found that, hey, you know what? He had told about what his homeboy did to his girlfriend, right? He said, yeah, I'm not going to be all up in this business or whatever. Plus, you killed an innocent civilian who was so very controversial, but nonetheless, he snitched either way. That is the name of the game when it comes to this gangbanging stuff or this mafia stuff, or it's not rational. It is not a rational world. But at the same time, if you're a part of that world, you don't want to tarnish your reputation in any kind of way or get yourself caught up, which is where Keefe D was at with this. So,
Tupac Shakur, but for orchestrating, right, for being the mastermind who, according to police, actually bought the gun, put the gun in the hands of the man who did pull the trigger that night in Vegas 30 years ago. Now, as you mentioned, Tupac was in the car in the passenger seat. The person who was driving the car was Suge Knight, head of Death Row Records.
And this is a reason why they want Suge Knight to testify, because there are uh, reasons to believe that he knows what is going on. But you know how it is in a code of the streets, you say nothing. However, there have been reports that have said that Suge Knight did snitch on Akon, right? Kem asks, "What ethnicity are you?" I'm half Arabic and half Pacific Islander. If if that answers your question, let me know what part of the world you are from. First time I've seen you here. Welcome. I hope that you do like and that you do subscribe to the channel. And I hope that you enjoy the content. But yes, let me know what part of the world you're from, right? So okay. So obviously, an important part of this case now, will Suge Knight testify? There was reason to believe, or I thought maybe he would. Obviously, there was that controversy going on with Akon. Did Suge Knight really snitch on Akon? You know what? Let's find out once and for all right now, right? Since Google AI can answer just about anything, did Suge Knight snitch on Akon? Okay. Did Suge Knight snitch on Akon? Okay. So, once and for all, the answer is no. Suge Knight did not snitch on Akon in a legal or law enforcement sense. Okay. So, the origins of the rumor. The snitching rumor stems from past conflicts and allegations rather than cooperating with the police, right? So, a 2009 altercation, Akon's road manager knocked out Suge Knight during an incident, right? There were historical rumors and online debates about whether Suge Knight pressed charges or involved the police, which led in some hip hop community to loosely use the term snitch regarding how the physical dispute was handled. So the podcast claims is that Suge Knight made an explosive, controversial accusation against Akon on his prison-based podcast, The Collective Calls with Suge Knight. Akon strongly denied these claims, called them entirely false, and announced plans to file a defamation lawsuit against Suge Knight. Okay, so there it is, right? So obviously the answer is no. He did not snitch on Akon, and he finally proved on this one once and for all in the Tupac case that he did not snitch on Keefe D, Tupac, or anyone that was involved. However, he did mention some potential assassinations, hinting at JFK style plots that are somewhat government orchestrated. Didn't say that in those exact words, but hinted at that possibility. So, Suge Knight did, however, mention the cause of death by Nate Dogg, which, by the way, was very eye opening. He said on that same podcast that Nate Dogg died due to taking the same steroids that Dr. Dre was using to get himself hugged up, right? Obviously, Nate Dogg, part of the music business, right, was getting a little bit older, wanted to have the physical look of somebody that was, a Long Beach Crip, somebody that was a former Marine. Something a lot of you guys don't know. Nate Dogg was a former Marine, right? Ghostbuster says hi. Black Tribes Matter says hello, everyone. Shout out to you, my man. Um, so so yeah, that's very explosive to make that type of statement, especially out in the open, right? Because then what you do is you put Dre in scrutiny, right? You put all of his people in scrutiny. And that's just not what street guys do. But nonetheless, Suge Knight never snitched, and that is the bottom line about it. Now it is confirmed that Suge Knight has never snitched on Akon, and he's never snitched on this Tupac murder trial. Let's continue on with what TMZ has to say.
A lot of the people in this case now have died, and including the man who
A very important point. Yes, a lot of people that were part of this case, whether police officers or the gangsters that were involved in here, have passed on or have moved on in some kind of way.
That's right. But the one person who knows a lot is Suge Knight. And Suge, up to this point, has said, I'm not talking. I am not talking.
There it is. He said that he's not talking. Okay.
But Suge at least is talking to us, right? Because he is on the phone with us right now.
All right. So Suge Knight is going to join the phone call, and this is what he had to say to TMZ. I'll be right back.
What happens in this trial very closely, and he's joining us now. Suge Knight, welcome back to TMZ Live. So listen, and number one, we really appreciate you calling. We should let people know that you are incarcerated now, so you may hear a prison voice, right, kind of monitor time. But look, what do you make of the I mean, there's a reason the graphic that we're putting up shows you in his prison. It's a fair point, Chuck. But just in case, Chuck, we just wanted to let everyone know. It's a fair point. Yeah, I would show pictures of me in person. Well, okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Orange is not your color necessarily. I got it. No, it's not. Okay. So, it's always such a tough guy. But to me, Tupac has so much influence. And I'm always hanging out with some of the people that, my son Legend, and his friends, that's their favorite rapper. And my son Legend now, he's a basketball player. He want to be a hard rapper because of Tupac. What's cool, dude? What's cool? But what's funny to me is so I spoke with his mother, by the way, one of the greatest mothers around. Tori did a great job. She said that's all he wanted to do is be a rapper. And my granddaughter, cousin, so that saves a lot. That makes me happy. Yeah, no doubt, Tupac's influence is immense. So knowing that, and knowing that your son idolizes him, I would think that you're very interested in what happened in this trial. Well, I'm interested in that he can really be a teaching moment. He went through so much over the years, right? And not just, hip hop or a black man. He goes through a lot. And society goes through a lot. Society, period. If we can't learn from it and learn from it, piece of it, we're wasting our time. So I'm definitely always down to try to make everybody get a better view of life. Yeah. So, the interesting thing about this case is that, what the prosecution is saying is the best witness for them was he essentially confessed.
All right.
He wrote a book. He's talking about this on podcasts. He's now kind of moonwalking back here and saying,
Gee, shout out to Sabachi Financial. Let me see here. Okay, bad sound. Was it a bad sound? Hold on. Let me check the audio on that real quick. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. I see what you're saying. Yes, okay. Yeah, the audio wasn't too good. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So, yes, okay. Yeah. All right. So I think the audio is a little bit better now. Savachi says Suge ain't gonna snitch. Connor Khabib was like Pac and Biggie, according to Dana. Yes, because you know what, there was some serious animosity going on with that, right? Something that is beyond just competition in rap or competition in in MMA. So is Ian and Islam like 50 Cent and Ja Rule. Not even close. You know what? If you take a look at their face off, right? Their face off was pretty cordial, right? They shook hands, right? It's not like the Connor Khabib type of rivalry at all, right? There's real hatred and animosity there. Also, you got to understand, right? For what it's worth, and our opinion on Ian Garry is that Ian Garry is not like Conor McGregor, right? He's obviously a much, for all intents and purposes, a much nicer person than Conor McGregor, right? You may not agree with his worldview, how he decides to change his last name into his wife's last name as his middle name or whatever weird stuff that he's on. You may not agree with that, but I think for all intents and purposes, I think it's safe to say that he's a much nicer human being than Conor McGregor, right? And once again, that's not to exclude everything else about Ian Garry, how he exaggerated on Neil Magny supposedly beating his kid, right? And then having to answer to that in court because of some, some sort of like fight promotion that you're trying to like pull, right? Literally affecting his life in real life, right? I mean, but we're not going to talk about that. But that's part of Ian Garry as, why you would kind of consider him an asshole, right? But not to the degree of Conor McGregor, not to the degree of Conor McGregor's venomous, malignant, even borderline narcissistic personality disorder that he has going on, right? Which, by the way, creates a good rivalry for somebody like Khabib, who is a stoic, orthodox, religious Muslim. Savachi says Islam is standing on business. Correct. In terms of what? Like standing on business in terms of what? Like, you got to explain to me what you mean by that. He says, I just checked the official stats for their height. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, how Victory mentions that he doesn't look like he's 6'3". He said that he, by the very least, he's 6'2", right? But also you got to understand, maybe Islam is a lot taller than what he was. Because remember, they don't check the height all the time, right? And yes, Islam Makhachev came in, the UFC very young, right? And coming into the UFC very young, you could have growth spurts. Kobe Bryant had a growth spurt late into his career, right? He went from 6'5" when he was a teenager, right? When he first came into the Lakers as a teenager, coming fresh out of high school, and then ended his career at 6'7", close to 6'8", right? Kobe Bryant, right? He had a growth spurt. So that could be possible for Islam, right? He could have gone from 5'10" all the way to 6 feet, right? Maybe Islam Makhachev is 6 feet. If you look at him, he's very big for a 155er, or at least somebody who's a former 155er, and really honed into his body at 170, right? He almost looks like Rory McDonald now, right? And Rory McDonald was in that stature of 6 feet, 170 pounds. It's a 5 inch difference. Savachi says Ian Garry at 6'3". Savachi says Mike Tyson was short too. Right. That's kind of what made him a very fascinating heavyweight, right? Even Tupac, right? Obviously, we're still in the conversation of Tupac, Death Row, and Suge Knight. Even Tupac had mentioned this, right, in the song Uppercut, right? He says, that's why it's raw to watch me battle lions, because I'm a, skinny nigga battling niggas 3 times my size, right? And he compared himself to Mike Tyson. And yeah, Tupac did have a lot of street fights with dudes that were much bigger than him, right? Also, those 2 white cops that he had shot at, right? He got into a street fight with them before they pulled the guns out. Those were some, big white boys that he was getting into it with, right? D-Man says, Kyrie, thanks for the stream. Great analysis. Man, thank you for showing up at the stream. I appreciate having you guys here and supporting the channel, of course. And that also includes all my supporters around the world, as well as the people that I know in real life who are popping into this chat right now. Shout outs to you. Sai says, I'm betting all I can on Islam. You know what, man? I'm not a gambler, but if I was a gambler, I would bet my whole entire mortgage on it. Okay, that is if you have a mortgage, but yeah, whatever. I would bet a whole entire someone's entire mortgage worth of it. I would say. So Savachi says Muhammad Ali is 6'3". Good point that you brought up about Muhammad Ali, right? He is literally the same size and height of Alexander Usyk, and Alexander Usyk is dominating all these giants in the boxing game right now, right? Very similar to that of Muhammad Ali, but obviously Muhammad Ali was not battling giants in the type of giants that this era provides, right? You got people like Moises Otama, who's not only 6'5", but also hits hard. Daniel Dubois hits very hard. Anthony Joshua hits very hard. Tyson Fury. Not only does he hit hard because he's a natural heavyweight, but he also moves very fast, right? These are not the type of guys that Muhammad Ali was dealing with, but nonetheless, that seems to be the perfect height and size for heavyweight fighting, right? That includes Mike Tyson also at that stature. This is why I feel like, you know what, man, I've sparred with a lot of heavyweights, okay? And I fought as low as 155. Obviously, right now, I look nothing like a 155er, right? Probably close to like a light heavyweight or anything like that. But trust and believe, I could fight heavyweights. I'm strong enough. You guys have seen what I do in the gym with the weights that I pull. And I'm also fast enough, which is going to give a lot of big men some problems. So, you know, it's called the smaller man scale phenomenon, right? Which is what Islam Makhachev sort of has going on with a lot of these 170 fighters. Savachi says Connor was 5'9", Khabib 5'10", Chimaev 6'2", Usman 6'2". Usman is 6'2". Is he? Are we talking about Kamaru Usman? I sworn Kamaru was 5'11". Yeah, same size as GSP. GSP is 5'11". Yes. Savachi says Ghostbuster says gambling is haram. I agree. Yes. Scanabigo says Islam did the opposite to Ian in his interview. To DJ, you tell your wife, you don't ask your wife. Ah, there it is. Islam did the opposite to Ian in his interview. Yes, I did see the DJ and Islam interview. Man, I love the interaction that DJ has with the Dagestanis, right? It's a very good dynamic uh, type of banter that they have going on, right? Obviously, DJ is one of the greatest fighters of all time. That's something that he can relate to with Islam, right? So there's a conversation that they have there that is very foreign to everybody else, but very familiar to them, right? In terms of being the top target of your division, right? DJ knows what that's like. DJ knows what it's like to consistently defend his title multiple times over and over again, right? He knows what that's like. DJ knows what that's like. DJ knows the pressure that Islam Makhachev is going to go through in his first title defense coming up right now. He says, yeah, DJ and Volkanovski. Are they having an interview? I haven't seen that one yet. Aaron Maga says Ian will tap on Saturday night. Inshallah, brother. Inshallah. You know, and of course, there is no harm in being honest about who it is that you like in the world of combat sports, right? We all love who we love. For example, I got a lot of Irish guys that pop into this chat, right? I got love for the Irish. Obviously, the Irish were a vocal ally with Gaddafi in Libya in the 1980s, and I was born in Libya in the 1980s around our IRA rogue elements that were literally training in Libya to fight the British Empire. I was around that, and a lot of the Irish recognize that. So I got a lot of Irish that pops in here, right? And it's obvious they're going to go for Ian Garry, even Conor McGregor. Regardless of what the media says about Ireland, I still have Irish guys that pop up in here that vehemently support Conor McGregor. And Conor McGregor does a lot of good for his local community. A lot of you guys may not know that, right? Conor McGregor has done a lot of charities for people that are living homeless and destitute in Ireland, right? But it doesn't mean that he's not a bad person, right? One of the things that a lot of people have a hard time understanding, right, is the complexities of human beings. All right. The complexities of human beings is as it follows, right? The person could be feeding a cat, right? Doing all the wholesome things, all the kind things that would please Allah, that would please, what Allah wishes for human beings to be, right? Kind, loving, caring, and things of that nature, right? There's always going to be that side of a human being that has the capabilities that even if you are a narcissistic sociopath or if you have psychopathic tendencies, you have the ability to show good and to act good, especially if there are some rewarding effects behind it, whether it is an internal reward or whether it's an external reward for people praising you for these philanthropist acts in some kind of way, right? The bottom line is the complexities of human beings are real. Okay. A person can be very kind to you, but a person can be an absolute monster. I'll tell you this from my own personal life, right? Many of my friends that are really close friends of mine, okay, I would absolutely ride and die for them till the end. Okay. I would go to war for them. I would do the most horrific things to humanity in ways that you couldn't even imagine. I would do that for a homie. Okay, that's how I roll. And guess what? I got other homies that will follow and do the same. That's how this whole thing goes, right? But with that in mind, I also have friends that will tell you, and this is not me bragging in any way, right? I hate bragging about the goodness that anybody does or anything like that. Just giving you an example and real life anecdotal experience, right? Right. I have friends that will tell me I'm, very kind, very giving, very understanding, right? In fact, so understanding that people have told me secrets about themselves and about their personal lives that most people would never get that type of sharing from in any kind of way, right? Nobody would share these types of information with you. But if you are a trustworthy enough person, right, people tell you things that they wouldn't tell anybody else. And I honor that. There are things that I know about people that I swear I will take to the grave with me, and that is forever, right? There are information and things that I know about specific events, specific life events of specific individuals that I would never mention to the wider world, right? And that is the reason why people will tell you secrets, but also they understand the goodness in you. But in the midst of that, there are people who will also think the worst of you because maybe you are in direct opposition with them. Maybe you serve against their interest in some kind of way, whether you are an individual, a corporation, or a government entity in some kind of way. Maybe you pose a certain threat to somebody that realistically is going to make you look evil in the narrative that they put out there. But that's what it is, guys. That is the complexity of human beings that you have to understand in this very complex world of truth versus lies versus the gray lines of the things that the mainstream media doesn't show you. Data Beagle says, yes, Volk and Islam had one. Volk is invited to Dagestan to hunt deer on horses. Wow, and fishing. Yes, that's going to be great content. Obviously, that is right up the alley of Volkanovski, right? Doing outdoor activities. Also, right up the alley of Islam Makachev. And I think somewhere down the line, maybe Volk will cook for them, right? Obviously, Volk likes to cook. He's got, a very interesting show, with cooking. And this is great. I love seeing this. I know for some people, maybe they may look at this as, oh, this is corny, why these fighters are doing that. I'll tell you what's corny. As long as they're not doing none of that Nina drama stuff, I'm okay with watching Volk cook all day. All right. That would be great, right? In fact, it would kind of motivate me to start grilling myself. You know what I mean? Imagine, right? I just, start up a grill while I got, a Volkanovski's video playing at the same time. Got some music playing in the background, a little bit of some West Coast rap, maybe a little bit of some heavy metal, a little bit of some reggae, whatever gets the mood going. He says, yeah, people are cool, down to earth. Yes, yes. If you're down to earth, that is good for you in terms of media outreach that you are doing, right? It makes you look wholesome, makes you look like, a person that is relatable. These are things that you ultimately want for yourself and your product. So, what else is going on right now? Let's hear a little bit more on Ian Garry in his media day. Let me see. Has Islam Makhachev popped up yet? No, Islam Makhachev has not popped up yet. It's all right. If he doesn't pop up yet, I'll do a part 2 series of media day. Obviously, what did we play? We had Mackenzie Dern on for a little bit. We got Ian Garry on. Witch Hunter says, why no mustache? Well, I think that's quite obvious. If you don't know, and if you're really asking in a sincere kind of way, the reason why, as Muslims, we don't have mustaches is because it helps us identify us with other religious groups. Obviously, the Jewish people have beards. Orthodox Christian priests and monks have beards, but we had to do something that sort of separates us from everybody else, and that is shaving the mustache. So that is part of the sunnah, right? The way of following the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I hope that answers your question. If you are sincere about your question that you are asking. So what else? What else do we have going on? I think that's about it, guys. I wanted to kind of do this for a little bit under an hour, but yes. He says, gotcha. Didn't know that. Okay, yeah. If you didn't know that, that's perfectly fine. Now you know, right? I'm always down for people to ask Islamic questions. I'm always down for people to ask questions on things that are intelligent, right? As long as you're asking in a intelligent and also in a very sincere manner, I have no quarrel against that in any kind of way. Ghostbuster says, thank God. Scandivigo says, the Austrian painter mustache would separate you as well. Haven't seen them for a while. Well, I tell you what, not just the Austrian painter who also has mustaches, also many dictators, past dictators in the Middle East have had mustaches, right? Bashar al-Assad, who, by the way, currently is being sentenced to DIE by the Syrian government, the new Syrian government under al-Jolani, obviously, right? And Saddam Hussein had a mustache, right? So there were a lot of Middle Eastern dictators, right? Sometimes of Muslim, backgrounds or not so Muslim backgrounds, depending on who you ask, had mustaches. But either way, guys, this is all that I have for you on this one right now. I didn't want to drag this show any more or any less than what I needed to. Kind of wanted to cover a bit of some of Media Day. I will come back and cover more of Media Day, maybe today, maybe tomorrow. The next time I come back around, we covered Suge Knight briefly, where Suge Knight talks about. If you guys want to see the full extent of that interview from TMZ, go check out Suge Tells the Truth About Tupac's Murder. So he doesn't necessarily tell the truth about it, right? But he sort of hints at the possibility of assassination from who? Is it a government agency? Is it a particular entity? Suge doesn't really get into details of that. However, we learned a couple of things today. Suge did not snitch on Akon, which I've thought for a while that he did. Now his reputation is still intact. Him testifying in the KPD Tupac murder trial, he obviously did not do that. So therefore, his reputation is still intact. All right, that is what we established here today. Suge Knight did not snitch, and if you want to see the rest of that, go check out the TMZ interview with Suge Knight, the latest one that they have. And we covered a little bit of some UFC Media Day right now. Interesting stuff coming out of Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, Mackenzie Dern talks about how she would rather have a traditional life rather than have women run the world, as Ian Garry would say when one of the media people asked. And Ian Garry also mentioned to the media and said, hey, I don't want to answer any personal stuff. Let's just get to the fights. Really blocked them from the very beginning of asking anything that would be of interest to these MMA bros and MMA chuds in the wider world of the internet. All right. Ghostbuster says, big ups, brother. Yes. So we got about 60 seconds left. Anything that you guys want to say right now before we close it out? Just a little under an hour. Let me know. Okay. Islam is on now. Okay. He's on right now. Okay. Let's hear what Islam has to say then if he's on right now. Thank you for letting me know that, my man. All right. Then we'll stay for a bit and listen to Islam Makachev. We'll listen to Islam Makachev while you guys watch me play GTA. How about that? Let's do it like that. All right. And then we'll call it a day.
Come on, really? How important is it for you to continue to be recognized as pound for pound best fighter in the world? Not only
Okay, let's start from the very beginning here with Islam Makhachev and then speed it up to get into the um okay, here we go, Islam Makhachev. It up to get into the
the first time going into a fight with two belts sitting in front of you like this is everything you dreamed of, right? So I'll just make a smile when I see two belts here. Yesterday, we walk over there. First of all, there's just one belt. This is upset now. Speaking of this, yesterday, Ian was there earlier. He said he felt nervous energy from the event, so he didn't want to be there. I wouldn't make those comments today. We walk over there. I don't know. It's not like something I want to go there. Like, I think the portal said he felt nervous. I don't see anything. I just see guys. I'm not noticing. I'm just like, I don't think I'm quite in my life.
Can you guys hear Islam Makhachev? Okay, let me know.
And a lot of people are maybe talking about when you two look like next to each other, is he much bigger than you? And it didn't seem like he was that much taller. Did you notice that as well?
Yeah, I feel that. It's one. You see, to check my goal again because it was 10 years ago first, and now I'm very tall.
Also, at the base officer, really, Ian's son is a big fan of yours. He wanted to meet you and he started crying when you finished. What do you think about it? Will you give him opportunity to meet you?
Yeah, sure, for a meeting. I don't see him there, but I make it later.
Ian was saying, he said that his fight against you, he feels is the highest level of martial artists competing against each other, you versus him, that we've had a long time. So when you do watch Ian's skill set and tape and everything, is he that skilled and possibly most skilled opponent you've had?
I don't know, maybe like in the welterweight, if you watch the last fight, Mandalena is like more boxer. Ian has more skills, he's good in the striking, he has good wrestling defense, but he has some weak point. He's not counted to like 100% like myself, but I think he's good. He's gonna be a good fight, and I saw he had like good takedown defense, and I have some things I have some key to beat him easy.
four opponents, much better than your last four opponents.
What do you think of the people that he's faced? Last four? Before he said last five. And I said, like, why you don't respect his teammate Charles Oliveira? Now he say, well, last four. I don't know. When he was that difficult. That guy beat you 4 rounds. That's it.
I heard you say he beat Shaq for 24 rounds. What caused you?
He just not close. I don't know beat Carlos, but when he was I'm not sure. I'm different.
Do you agree with Super Manager says, do you?
Throughout the fight. Sure, the same style for every fight. He just run back and he just working for the point. I don't remember when he finished someone was there.
That's what do you make of Ian as a person, right? Sometimes he does interviews, says things and people react back. I'm curious, did you ever watch him throughout the fight? What do you think of Ian as a person?
I think he's a good person to play, but he has like this. Like this, but
I saw that. Did you get to meet him? Is he coming to Philly? It was a very special story.
They come Thursday or Friday. We'll meet them, but UFC give them tickets. We'll book them hotel flights, and I want to see.
Very nice.
Okay. Michael Morales was called to be the official backup for this fight. He's looking for a chance for the title shot. What do you think about him or his chance to be a contender for the title?
Yeah, he's a good contender, one of the contenders for sure. And just one thing I don't understand why he don't fight. He has to deserve because Pratt is still active. He still fight.
Okay, let's make sure that the audio.
What do you think about him or his chance to be a?
Okay, good. Yeah, we got the audio going. Okay, good.
But I don't know. I don't want to work like behind the young guy because I have a good opponent. After that, no matter who's going to be next, Pratt or Morales.
One of your training partners is going to be fighting in this card, Alvarez. What can you say about him, like his skills, and why do you call him to prepare for this fight against Ian?
Because he's a good striker. He's also tall, long reach, and we did good rounds with him. And in good shape, he just take the fight short notice, like 2 weeks, and I think he's going to show good performance because we spar and I see he's in good shape.
And you just mentioned that Usman is one of the next fighters for the UFC. How people is talking about the potential matchup against Justin if he gets into the UFC? How do you see this matchup? Because you know Justin.
Usman is training with us when he was like very young guy, and he training with Habib, myself, with all our teammates, all life, and I know 100% he ready to fight like for the title tomorrow or for the contender match tomorrow because he's good wrestler, he's a very good striker, he's a good grappling.
So he just said that Usman, if he was to fight in the UFC tomorrow, he would be ready to fight for the title.
That's why I think, my opinion, Usman did his job great in PFL and he ready to show good performance in the UFC.
Islam over here. So, what was your reaction when you heard you're going to be headlining this event here in Philadelphia for the first UFC event in 7 years?
Reaction? I don't know. Reaction, I just, because, last 2 camp I did in New Jersey, and I just checked how far the New Jersey from Philly, I was like very happy because I like to stay in New Jersey because we have great team there, gym there, and I like to training in New Jersey, and that's it.
And when you're looking at your opponent, what do you think will be your biggest challenge going against?
No, it's not going to be my biggest challenge. He's just good, I give him respect. He have good skills, but everybody knows my game, and we'll see how we prepare for that.
Obviously, your grappling is probably the best in the UFC right now. If there ever is a point in this fight where you're unable to get a takedown, did you purely outstrike El-Kheer?
Yeah, sure. Like, watch my fights against Volkanovski, against Dustin Poirier. I can strike with anyone, but the boss fight where I strike with the head or this like hard fight for me, you know. That's why if wrestling not working, grappling not working, I can strike with anyone. But if I want the easy win, I have to take them down and finish them.
Sure. El-Kheer said that becoming a vegan kind of took his performance to another level. Is that something you'd ever consider?
No, it's not Dagestan style, bro. Our traditional food about meat.
He said this is not Dagestan style, brother. No vegan for me.
Is on over here. Ian talked a lot about his family and the presence of his family. I know you like to keep that private, but I was just wondering if you could tell us how many kids you have and if any of them are training in any sports.
Beautiful new
I have to waiting at our nearest airfield. We hope you're very for sure, I don't know. I don't want my kids to be like fighters. For sure, in Dagestan, when you go to the school, you have to go wrestling or somewhere, vegan training. But we'll see. If they want, I just not stop them. No, I just help them. But I don't want my kids to be some professional fighters or like some other sports. Because when I grew up, and my mother and father always far from me, you know, because I always traveling, always like in training camp and fighting. But I want to stay with my kids.
And
it's already, bro. They are like 5, 7, 6 years old. I don't see them anymore.
And speaking of younger, Khabib was on the Lex Friedman podcast and he told a story about him and his brother fighting in a sambo fight on the street. I just wanted to know if you remember this and if you have any memories using sambo outside of the octagon.
Sambo, yeah, sure. Sambo. Sambo is mean like not. I was in the Sambo Federation a couple of days ago, and I just told there also. Sambo is not just to help to become like best fighter in the world, like myself, brother Imran, Khabib Nurmagomedov. You know, just not just become fighter. Just Sambo is the best sport to defend yourself. You know, when you have some problem in the street, you always have some goals. You know, it's not wrestling. You can grab do some things like Sambo style. That's why I think Sambo is the best sport for not just become fighter, just defend yourself.
Thank you.
For example, jiu-jitsu, bro. If you want to defend yourself, you have to lay down. But Sambo, you can begin from.
How important is it for you to continue to be recognized as pound for pound best fighter in the world? Not only just win, but put on dominant performances so you continue to be recognized pound for pound best in the world.
Yeah, it's like first thing which I like prefer when people just put me in the first place, you know, and I understand like everybody understand I'm the like best fighter. Like, you know, when you like spend all your life for this sport, and when you become like best fighter, you know, it's great, you know, it's makes me happy every day.
He said, Salam Aki, see you next time. Shout out to you, my man.
Question for me, just was there anybody in your camp who was there to emulate your opponent in there?
Yeah, I do.
Ali Khan says, damn Aki, what exactly?
Yes, I had Joe Alvarez, who's also been fighting on this card. I also had one of my Sparred with them. Nurmagomedov is also taller than me. And, this is simply there for me to emulate my opponent. If you look at Joe Alvarez, it's kind of a little taller than him. This last one, let's go back to Usman. I think a lot of people think he'll have to win one fight in the UFC before getting the title shot. It was up to you. Who would you like to see Usman fight in this UFC debut?
Who's the one of the contenders right now?
So Armin and Rufi are fighting in LA, and there's Charles. Ilya has to come back. Patty's there. Benoit. Quinlan just won.
Yeah, maybe Arman or Max. I don't know. I agree with you. He have to fight one time because he's like one of the big division in the UFC, you know, and come from out of the and fight for the title. I think it's possible, but I think he have to come feel this atmosphere, feel this whole media, everything, and fight for the title next time. That's one fight, and other one for the title. Thank you, guys.
All right, so that concludes Islam Makhachev's media day right there. Very short, very sweet, right to it, and says, yeah, man, this is not Dagestan style, brother. Victory says, you see Bobby Green spar the other pro? Yup. He says, I'm here at the 9 to 5. Okay. Yeah, I did see that, yeah. A whole different level, isn't it? You know, with that guy that Bobby Green sparred this time.
This is the Google AI Professional Certificate.
Victory says, Bobby said he was fighting him peekaboo style and wasn't open for attacks. I was open for attacks. It wasn't fair. Come on, Bobby Green was just dumb, my man. Yeah, man, you know, it's a different level of boxer, isn't it? You know, different level of boxers present something different to the next guy, and he may have overestimated that guy. Yeah, he absolutely overestimated that gentleman. I feel the need for speed. We got to get out of here. Okay, evading some 4 stars. Real Top Gun scene up in here. He says boxers never try MMA. That's true, but credit to him for getting in there and to the boxer for doing some grappling. Yup. So the boxer did do some grappling as well, huh? All right, invaded those stars. All right, boys. He says, who are you picking in the Theo versus Romero fight? I'm going to go with Raleigh on that one, right? I think Raleigh has done a very good job of shocking all of us, especially with the Ryan Garcia fight. I think he's going to do the same in this Theo fight. I think that Theo has probably lost a little bit of focus, and that is where Raleigh is going to determine the winner in that regard. Victory says, yeah, he got choked out in 10 seconds and then knee barred the second round. Yeah, that's typical of what you're going to see out of boxers against MMA guys, right? But on any regard, guys, that is all that I have for this one. Look at that aerial view of LA and Santa Monica, my favorite place in real life. Checking it out right there, flying over Santa Monica. There it is, guys. Yes, Santa Monica in the GTA world. All right, y'all. See you guys in the next one. He says Theo will win. Scandamigo says. I don't know about that. We'll see. Take care, y'all.